I am a 26-year-old female and have been dating my boyfriend, who is a 39-year-old male, for almost 2 years. The first year was fine, and due to bad home lives, we moved in together into an apartment after only dating for 6 months. The first year of the lease was mostly fine, and we renewed in July. I also bought a dog a month into the relationship. She is fully mine, but he buys things for her occasionally. However, there have been building problems, and things are not getting resolved. For starters, we live in a hoarder situation. When I moved in, I didn't put all of my things in spots permanently since I knew he had to move in as well. I moved in 1 week before him. To this day, our apartment has not been fully organized. Quite frankly, he has too many things and has a hard time letting go of anything. He also has this just-in-case mindset that is a little extreme. I have stuff not in permanent places too, but that's mostly due to his stuff either being in the way or me leaving room for him first so that I can organize my stuff after. I've bought a bookcase for storage in the spare closet, 3 different over-toilet racks that are over other non-toilet fixtures, and other smaller organizers for him. He focuses on the small stuff too much and hasn't gone through the bigger things or worked on getting through them. I'm not asking him to get rid of everything either, but I want to be able to walk in the apartment without having to turn to the side or follow paths. This has led to other issues, one of which is him claiming I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder because of my forgetfulness, which is almost always related to me putting something down and forgetting where I put it in the apartment. For example, my phone. He is getting very bothered by my forgetfulness, so I try to be extra careful now, but he keeps bringing it up in almost any argument or serious conversation. He thinks I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that I need to get tested for it, and that by not getting tested for it, he is growing resentment towards me. I've told him I don't want to spend the money, take medications for it, and quite frankly just do not want to do it. None of these are acceptable answers for him. We also have a non-existent intimate life. I can count on 2 hands the total number of times we have been intimate since our relationship began. We also almost never cuddle because he wants it on his terms. We kiss a couple of times a day and hug, and on rare occasions he will give me a quick grab. But that's the extent of our intimate life. I've told him that it's fine if we don't have one, but he needs to make it clear to me whether he wants some or not. He stated that he does want it, but then does absolutely nothing to help it. Part of it might be an erectile dysfunction problem, which I do not hold against him at all, but we don't even try to work around it anymore, it seems. I don't ever initiate anymore because I don't want to. When he's on his phone, he's addicted, and I have told him this, and even cuddling, I don't try to initiate for the same reasons. There are other things that are going on in our relationship, like how awful he is with money. He can't afford to live on his own, and sleep habits, but I'll leave it there for now. On to the here and now. Last night, my mom, who is 52 years old, had my sister, who is 28 years old, and me over for dinner and an announcement. She announced that due to my grandmother's declining mental faculties, she is going to move in with my grandma partially this weekend. She said she is going to take her bed, clothes, dog and dog supplies, and a couple of other essentials, but leave most of her condo furnished and vacant. I was then asked if my lease is up soon and what my plan is. I stated I was unsure because I am currently unhappy with my boyfriend, but I'm not breaking up in the middle of a lease, and both my mom and sister agreed with that sentiment. My mom then offered that when I'm ready, I can move into her condo and have it as my own for $500 a month in addition to utilities, which I currently give my boyfriend $1,000 a month to cover my half of expenses. I would be able to keep most of my furniture as well. Most was hand-me-downs, but I have attachments to some. I am going to be accepting this offer from my mom and will not be bringing my current boyfriend with me. I am truly unhappy in my relationship and am doubtful that it can be saved. I think we both have resentment towards each other for different reasons, but I do genuinely love him and think he is a good person. He just is not a good boyfriend in a relationship. We still have 8 months left in our lease, and I will not break up and live with him for that time since it would be far too awkward. My closest friends are suggesting that I break the lease now, since I'll have a place to go and can start immediately saving money. But since this is super recent news, I haven't taken a look at my lease to see what the lease breaking fee would be. I would be fine with it if it was no more than $1,500, since I would be saving that much in the long run, but I'd have to double check. A good coworker and friend of mine suggested talking it out with him and seeing if anything can be salvaged, since she does know I truly love him. My mom and sister think holding out until before the lease renewal is good, and to be petty and not even let him have any of the furniture that I will not be keeping. So far, an old dining table set and brown reclining leather couch. I don't know when to time anything, if I should try to salvage it at this point or hold out until I can move out. Please, if anyone has any experience from a similar situation, give me some advice on what I can or should do. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Breakups are like band-aids. Sometimes you just have to rip them off. Since you already have a safe place to land, saving money, and peace of mind on the table, it's time to prioritize yourself. Sticking around for 8 more months won't fix the resentment. It'll just stretch out the misery for both of you. Check that lease fee and pull the trigger if it's manageable. Your future self will thank you. Comment 2. This is going to sound harsh, but you are acting like you are his mother. Can't leave and for once put myself first where you belong, because what would happen to him? Sorry to sound harsh, but please leave. Your responsibility is to yourself first, and if you don't do it soon, that offer of accommodation may slip away if someone else needs somewhere to go. Now for the update. 2 days after my last post, my boyfriend Jake suggested we go out for dinner to talk about our relationship. I mean, he could have just as easily done that at home, but I think he knew I was kind of over the messiness of our home, if you know what I mean. So we went to this local Italian restaurant we used to love together. I was honestly surprised it wasn't closed down or something, considering how little we were eating there lately. Well, I was eating there. He was basically just sitting there, playing with his food. So, we're at dinner, and Jake casually asks if I've thought more about my mom's offer to move into her condo. And I was like, oh, I'm considering it. Yeah, the guy went from chill to super tense in a split second. He starts insisting that leaving wouldn't solve our problems and that we need to work on things together. Like, okay, but what have we been doing for the last 2 years? He points out that we made a commitment by moving in together and that I shouldn't just abandon that. I'm thinking, yeah, if only that commitment meant you would pick up your own damn socks. So, things got heated. He accuses me of not being invested in our relationship. I hit back with the fact that his emotional distance and disorganization are the real problems here, and then he just changes the subject. Like, thanks for avoiding the issue, Jake. He starts talking about his work, how stressed he is, and he brushes off what I said, promising that things would get better, like they always do. When I brought up his comments again, he was all defensive, saying I was overreacting and that our problems weren't that serious. Seriously? Next day, I'm at work, and I get a call from my mom, giving me an update about the condo. She mentions that my grandma isn't doing well and will need more help moving in. This really shows how urgent my living situation is. When I get home, I find Jake's friends over for a small gathering. The apartment is even messier than usual, like, did they not even recycle the empty bottles? His friends take over the living room, making it almost impossible for me to talk to him. So late into the night, Jake is drinking heavily and laughing it up with his buddies. I try talking to him about my thoughts on moving out, and he brushes me off again. Tired of the chaos, I go to bed early, leaving the door slightly open. Around midnight, I hear Jake arguing with one of his friends in the living room. The argument escalates when the friend says, "You're too comfortable in this relationship." I don't know how I didn't hear that before, but I didn't. The next morning, I confront Jake about his comments from the night before, and of course he's like, "Oh, I was just joking. I didn't mean anything by it." He then suggests we go to my mom's condo together to see if I would really consider moving in. Once we arrive, my mom is busy packing things up and doesn't have time to chat. Jake takes this chance to voice his opinion on how we should just stay where we are. After a tense afternoon, we leave the condo without resolving anything. That evening, I find a note from my mom about how important it is to have a stable home. I think she was trying to get me to stay with her, but I didn't want to impose. Anyway, Jake notices the boxes lying around and confronts me about what I'm doing. He accuses me of not being serious about our relationship and threatens to break up if I move. At that point, I decide I'm moving into my mom's condo. No matter what, I'm done with this chaos. Am I the idiot for prioritizing my own well-being over my boyfriend's marathon obsession and mixed signals? 2 years ago, I, 24-year-old female, met a great guy, 28-year-old male. I was just finishing school and he is a Doctor of Philosophy candidate. I'm now in graduate school myself and he is in the tail end of his Doctor of Philosophy. He doesn't always have time for me. At first, I understood that a Doctor of Philosophy degree is tough and very consuming, and I assumed things would get better once he was done. But now he is telling me it may last longer than previously expected, and I'm starting to fear that it will always be like this. I know my graduate school is not as complex, but I still manage to show up and be a present girlfriend. I'm afraid he just doesn't prioritize me. Lately, he has taken up marathon running as well, which consumes a lot of time. I don't want to be jealous of a marathon, but I have been. He didn't have time for me, but he found time to train. But it's great for his health, so I can't complain, right? He also has been making some comments about my weight. I'm overweight and have been so my whole life. I was like this when he started dating me and have not gotten heavier over the last 2 years. But now suddenly it's a problem for him. He said he doesn't feel as attracted anymore and that he finds himself being briefly attracted to other girls. I asked him if he wanted to break up, and he said no. He very vehemently said no, apologized for hurting me, and promised to get therapy over this. Also, I'm the one who has been planning every single date for the past 6 months. I'm in graduate school, I'm studying hard, have extracurriculars and work, find time for my friends, and attend religious services, and also manage our entire relationship. I don't know. I just feel like I'm the one putting so much effort, but he says he loves me so much, and he cried when I considered us breaking up. He promised to do better and start getting therapy. And I want to make sure everyone knows he is a good guy. Seriously, that man's heart is golden. He goes to great lengths to never hurt anyone and to always help out those in need. He will pick me up from school on days I have to stay late, even if it means having to walk 30 minutes to his car and then drive back to our campus. He will give my friends rides, and he will help anyone without a car to get groceries and other necessities. He helps newly arrived lab mates move because they just got to the United States. He is a good son and a good brother, and he treats women well. He openly talks about marrying me and having kids with me. Dogs love him. He buys me expensive gifts and also pays for small items that I might need and could buy just because he can. He buys me sweets, even though lately he has been expressing some really disturbing feelings about his relationship with food. He doesn't think he deserves any if he doesn't run. He never comments on what I eat. I don't know. I feel really lost lately. I don't want to lose him, but I don't feel like I can continue as we are. But maybe I'm just missing all the ways he loves me and letting my thoughts consume me. I'm in therapy and have been for the last 4 years. However, right now my therapist is on maternity leave. I'm trying to find a replacement, but meanwhile I turn to you all. I don't want to leave. I want to save this, but I don't know how. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You are a girlfriend of convenience, a placeholder until he completes his degree, gets a job, and then starts looking for the girl he wants to marry and have kids with. Until then, you are a convenient source of intimacy and care. Sorry for saying it like this, but I have seen this again and again before. Comment 2. If he is lovely to everyone but you, he is not lovely. Do not waste your time on someone who does not think you are amazing, and his actions clearly show he does not appreciate you. If the only way he shows love is by buying things he easily can, then that is not putting effort in. That is the bare minimum. Now for the update. I'm still in a weird place with my boyfriend. I went to a bookstore and ran into my friend who suggested I reach out to his running group. I did and decided to drop in on a Saturday run, but it felt weird. There was a new girl in the group, and I felt really uneasy. I went home and did some social media digging, and it made me feel even worse. I confronted him about it, and he acted like it was no big deal. A few days later, I overheard him on the phone mentioning running with her, and I just felt like I had to do something. So I planned a run with my friends and passed by him and the girl on purpose. He looked so confused, and I just wanted to make it seem like I was having a great time. I texted him about it later, but he didn't even mention her, which felt weird. Now I'm just focusing on myself and planning a trip with friends. I told him I was busy, and he seemed confused, but I just need some space. The last message I got from him was asking if everything was okay, and I said I needed time to focus on myself. He hasn't responded since. Mini update. After my last message, he reached out to ask if we could talk in person. I agreed, and we met at a cafe. He admitted he was worried about us and confessed that running with the new girl wasn't what I thought. We had an open conversation about our relationship. Am I the idiot for refusing to take my manipulative father-in-law's unwanted dog, despite his guilt trips and rumors? When I met my wife, she had 2 dogs. We used to live in a smaller city in the United States, where we had space and friends to take care of our dogs in case we had to travel either for work, both of us have traveling jobs, or for fun, and the overall cost of everything was lower. A few years ago, we got married and moved to one of the largest cities in the United States, where space is a premium, and even to this day we don't have a strong friend group or system where we can trade watching our dogs. A few months after we moved, while my wife was away on a work trip, one of the dogs very suddenly passed away. We were both crushed, and it was the first time I had dealt with any real loss myself. My wife has always grown up with dogs, and everyone in her family has dogs. The same year our dog passed away, my wife's dad, who is 80 years old, decided to adopt not 1 but 2 dogs. My father-in-law is a cancer survivor and by all means in very poor health most of the time. In the year after they adopted the dogs, my in-laws took a liking to one and for some reason a deep dislike to the other one. I have seen them be mean to the dog and also hit the dog from time to time. It's truly a heartbreaking situation to see the dog get punished for doing something playful. In the last year or so, my father-in-law has been trying to pawn off his 1 dog to us, mostly citing that he is unable to take care of the dog because of his health, and he will also tell me that the dog would be perfect for our big city apartment. Now, my wife is one of 4 siblings, and somehow the other siblings have not even entertained this notion from my father-in-law for themselves, despite the fact that they're all much more financially stable, live in houses with fenced-in yards, and live in smaller cities. My wife feels the need to take this dog from my father-in-law and feels that it's getting hard for him to take care of the dog. On the other hand, I absolutely do not want another dog because we both work traveling jobs. Our space diminishes in our apartment with another dog, and we recently found joy in traveling internationally, something we've both never done before. Selfishly, I also don't want to be handed down a dog just because my in-laws don't like him. And I truly love our life with 1 dog. It's made things so much easier than when we had 2. My wife initially understood all the points I made, from space to how it's difficult to find a friend to take care of our dog to budget, but in the last few weeks to a month, has been asking about taking this dog from her dad almost every day. It somehow makes its way into everyday conversation, and I feel it has made her meaner and more passive-aggressive in the last few weeks, where she'll make snide comments or take a dig at me for no reason. We've had multiple discussions about this topic, where she will agree with all my points and an hour later be like, "The dog is so cute, we need to help him," or "My dad's aging, we need to help him." I'm starting to feel that every mean thing my wife says is a reaction to me not wanting the dog, and sometimes I start to think if I'm imagining all of this in my head. How do I move forward from this situation? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm starting to feel that every mean thing my wife says is a reaction to me not wanting the dog. Based on your post, your wife's siblings are better equipped to care for the dogs, but your wife is in the golden child position. You need to stand your ground. You need to leverage logic against emotion and be willing to hold your boundary with patience and conviction. Be sympathetic but unwavering. If she will not hear you, that's a marriage problem. If what you describe is the truth, your house is not the right place. You need to die on that hill. Comment 2. To me, it's concerning that she's becoming mean to you over this issue. I think of this in the same way as discussing the possibility of having more children. It's a huge issue that she seems to not be respecting your feelings, and I would be fully concerned about her trying to break you down until you give in and say yes to taking on the other dog. If you feel strongly in your reasoning about not taking the other dog, do not give in. Now for the update. 2 days after my last post, my wife called me at work and she was upset. Her dad was pushing even harder for us to take the dog. I suggested we have a family dinner to talk about it with her parents. She agreed, hoping it would make him understand our position. So on Saturday evening, we got to her parents' house, where her dad was super excited about the dog. He showed us pics of it playing around, saying it would be perfect for our place. My wife looked hopeful, but I was still not into taking another dog. During dinner, her dad talked about how much he loved the dog and how sad it made him to part with it. Then the conversation switched to the upcoming family holiday gathering where everyone was supposed to be there. Suddenly, my brother-in-law, who had just moved back to town, joined us for dinner. He started telling stories about his childhood dogs, making things feel lighter. But then he casually mentioned hearing that our apartment was too small for 2 dogs, leading to a back and forth between me and my father-in-law. He made comments about family responsibilities, implying I wasn't stepping up. The dinner ended with awkward silence while my wife tried to mediate. I stepped outside for some fresh air, and we argued quietly on the porch. Her dad overheard us and came out to butt in, accusing me of not caring about family values. The next day I found out my father-in-law had been spreading rumors about me. From a mutual friend, I heard he claimed I was refusing to help with the dog. We decided to go to her parents' house again to clear the air, but things were still tense. When we got there, her dad was dismissive and kept pushing for the dog, laughing off the tension, which made me even more mad. I asked if we could talk about the rumors in private, but he refused. The argument escalated, and I stormed out of the house while my wife stayed behind. I started thinking about how to expose his manipulation, so I reached out to my brother-in-law, who offered support. He agreed to help me organize a family meeting before the holiday gathering to deal with all this. I made sure everyone knew about my father-in-law's behavior. At the holiday gathering, the family confronted him about the rumors. It all blew up into a heated argument with everyone there, and he was called out for his actions. Eventually, he had to apologize publicly. This all cost him his reputation, and he became more isolated from the family. Thank you for reading. Edit. My wife and I are working through our issues and growing closer again. She didn't know about her dad's manipulation and was upset with him for lying. We both want to prioritize our happiness and not let external pressures affect us. We're also focusing on our dog and planning a vacation together soon. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.